Joining us on the program, another special guest. He is the head football coach of the victorious Norcom Greyhounds. Well, people were writing them off at 0-3, Ed, but they've won 4 in a row, and you got it right last night. I took Norview, Ed took Norcom, and we say good morning and congrats to Coach Larry Archie after his team's 46-7 win over Norview. Coach, I imagine you feel a lot better here in October than you did in September.
Oh, absolutely. So, winning cures a whole lot of ills.
How'd that one feel last night? 46-7 over a very talented and dangerous Norview team. You go on the road and 4 consecutive victories after the 0-3 start. What's been the difference?
I think we've gotten out of our own way. Early on, I thought we made too many mistakes. Not to take anything away from the teams that beat us, but we have been our own worst enemy in those first 3 games with penalties and mental errors, and just out of chemistry coming together. Getting better together and cutting out the mistakes that you just can't make and win.
Hey, Larry, congrats on getting that big one last night. And by the way, I picked you. Hatfield didn't, just so you know. Just so you know.
I got you.
Okay? Not that our picks matter worth a darn, but I just want you to know I'm on your side. But, Larry, I was a little nervous beginning of the year. I think you opened up with a couple losses, and I was like, what's going on with the defense? But obviously you had to put some things together. And some of these younger kids, and you mentioned about some injuries. Your defense led by what's the young man's name? Powell
Riley.
Antoine Powell. Yeah.
Okay. So my comment to you is: am I assessing this right? That some things just didn't quite go early the way you wanted them to, but now you think you got this ship righted and we're going the right direction?
Yeah. Well, we had Antoine Powell was coming off of shoulder surgery. And he's just started playing 4 games ago now. And the 4 games that he's played, we've won. He's made a tremendous difference on our defense. Taurus Jones is coming off of a knee injury. He's rounding out, getting in better shape and conditioning, game conditioning. And so we've gotten stronger down the middle of our defense. We beat 3 pretty good football teams. And like I said, we couldn't get out of our own way with the types of mistakes that we made. You can't win and make those kind. We're not good enough to overcome to get out of our own way. So, yes, we've gotten better. Our chemistry is better. We're playing hard. And like I said, winning cures a lot of ills. So when you're winning, things get a lot easier. Guys get used to the scheme, get used to playing together, and we've been doing pretty well.
Well, not just Powell Ryland at a defensive end for who's picked up some offers here lately from Virginia Tech and UVA, and then Taurus Jones, you mentioned. TJ, the linebacker's got over a dozen offers. Kassan Dixon, your defensive back wide receiver, he too, like Jones, was hurt last year. So really it's just been a matter of your season's been different. It's been the opposite of last year. You got off to a fantastic start last year, fizzled at the end of the season because of injuries, lost that first-round game to Lakeland. Now it's sort of the opposite. You start off slow, and maybe you're peaking at the right time as you march towards the playoffs.
Right, and that's important. I think it's important to when you get hot. Like you said, last year, I think we started off 7-0, and we were rolling, and then we lost the game, and then we lost some players, and then we were beaten in the round of the playoffs. And we talk a lot about it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So right now, things are going well for us. We've kind of gotten away from the injury bug with major injuries. We lost a linebacker in the scrimmage, Jalen Coker, who's now Coach Coker. And he's helping a lot with a young linebacker, Cameron Stevenson Robinson, that's playing very well for us. So we're looking. We're excited about the upcoming season, the rest of the season.
We're chatting with Larry Archie as Norcom Greyhounds a winner last night in a resounding fashion, 46-7 on the road at Norview to improve to 4-3 overall as they get ready to host Lake Taylor in an Eastern District battle on Friday night at 6:30. It's High School Sports Talk presented by VirginiaPreps.com on ESPN Radio 94.1. The Greyhounds try to make it 5 in a row next week, Ed.
Hey, Larry, let's go. You talked about a couple of your kids. Let's highlight the rest of your guys, especially on that. Let's start on that offensive side because we know you're known for that defense, but quarterback Jacoby Smith, tell us about him, and then also Dunlap and some of your other guys.
Well, Jacoby Smith is mature. He's a 3-year starter for us. He's starting to see the entire field. He's starting to change some plays, which we have always given him a green light to do. But he's matured in a way now that he sees a lot of things that the coaches upstairs see. And he checked to a couple of good passes. One was a touchdown last night. So he's getting us into better plays. Of course, I think all the ones I send are good ones, but the quarterback has the autonomy to change those plays. he's commanding the field very well, and we go as he goes. If he plays well, we play well. So he's been pretty good for us this year, starting to play really well. He had an excellent game last night and against Minchfield. DeMonte Dunlap is a special back. This is the second game over 200 yards. He's got speed. He's not a big kid, but he's very tough and durable. He catches the ball well. So he's a dynamic player for us. And up front, we've matured to the point where, we have 4 new starters on the offensive line, and they've gelled. Davion Battle is our center who runs that front for us and gets us into good calls and checks up front. The new guys are Davon Jefferson at left tackle. The right tackle is, we call him Big Red Vernon Ballard, who was in the band for 2 years. He's a big kid that's kind of learning the game, but he's very aggressive and coming around for us. And he's a 6'5", 300-pound kid, so we're excited about getting him back next year. Keandre Hodges and Trent Chapman are 2 15-year-old kids that are playing guard. And it's just a matter of getting reps with those kids and them getting better as a unit. The offensive line as a fist, not as individual fingers. So if one of those guys makes an error, it shows. And so they're starting to play pretty well together and understanding scheme and playing hard. So we're excited about those guys, especially the ones that can return and help us next year. We've been solid outside with Kason Dixon. Ceylon Lawrence has had a very good year for us. He caught a touchdown last night. Karan Prunty has been able to stretch the field and make a lot of plays for us on both sides of the football. And Josiah Hayes has been big for us as well. When called upon, those guys have all performed and made big plays for us. And that's one of the reasons we were able to play a pretty complete game last night and the last couple of weeks.
Coach, listening to you and know what happened again in the year, it looks like getting that offensive line back together, understanding your schemes, as you just mentioned, has allowed your speed guys, your skill guys to do a little bit more because they've got that protection.
Right. And that's what has happened. Yeah. We've been up front, and in high school, in most football, if you can't run the ball, you're not going to be very successful. Early on, we weren't very good up front, and it was a matter of youth. And so high reps and playing the game makes you better, and that's what's happened up front for us. I have to mention the young man that we have gotten in. We have a kicker that's a foreign exchange student named Emil Lindholm. Of course, the kids call him Sunshine because he's a blonde-haired, model-looking guy, but he can kick the ball. And he's done well for us in our kicking game. So I think he has about 7 or 8 touchdowns this year. So, and never had to have played football, American football before. I think he's been a big plus for us on special teams.
Well, Coach, I was just going to say, you got to keep doing a good job of recruiting the band, sending big fellows out of the band. And then now, when you go to the islands for your vacations in the summer, then, bring back a guy that can kick. You're doing a pretty good job with that.
Yeah, we've had the parent of the foreign exchange students has done it for years. This is the first time we've had, and there's 2 guys. There's actually 2 of them. Iska is from Germany. He's turning linebacker, but they're a breath of fresh air. The guys that have never played, so they're learning the game. They're excited about it, and it's good to have them. She's always had kids that have played soccer and tennis and things. This is the first time we've had football players, and it's really exciting and to have those guys out on the team for us.
Well, now what's going to happen is Goolsby's going to get in there and try to get a 7-foot foreign exchange person.
Yeah. We need to talk to her before she interviews these kids.
Talking with Larry Archie, head football coach of the Norcom Greyhounds, with us here on High School Sports Talk, presented by VirginiaPreps.com on ESPN Radio 94.1, as they've now won 4 in a row, and they take on Lake Taylor coming up on Friday at 6:30 at Joe Langston Stadium. Be there for that Eastern District battle. Coach, we'll get you out on this one. We thank you for the time this morning here and rescheduling with us. It's sort of a twofer. The Eastern District running backs, you've got one of them in DeMonte Dunlap, which you touched on. Lake Taylor's got a stud sophomore in Malik Newton. Booker T, a sophomore stud in Rodney Hammond. Norview's got the freshman who's just dynamiting Katron Allen, which your defense, led by Jones and Powell, Ryland and company, did a great job to hold him to, I think, a season low under 30 yards. And then you got C.J. Beasley at Maury. Have you ever seen running backs in the district this good, this young, 1? And 2, give me a thought on Lake Taylor, your good buddy Coach Sawyer. How do you slow these guys down?
I don't think I remember a time there were this many good backs. I remember always that in the Eastern District, on any given night, anyone can beat you. Lake Taylor's Lake Taylor. You know, you can look at film 10 years ago and see what they're doing, and they're going to do the same thing. They're going to do it at a high level. They play hard. They're aggressive. They tackle well. They run the football. The well-coached team. I mean, and I always tell guys, hey, if you want to be the best, you have to beat the best. So until you beat them, you can't claim being the best. So we know it's going to be tough going in. We've been able to do some things with the run game against Lake Taylor that was successful for us. We have to do it better. They are an explosive team. Quarterback can throw the ball. They always have skilled kids, and they're tough up front. So it's not going to be easy to beat Lake Taylor because I think they're one of the best programs around. But it's a great measuring stick for your program to see where you are as a program when you can compete and win against teams like Lake Taylor.
Well, and they entered the week number 2 in the state in Class 4, and with Sharando losing last night to Martinsburg out of West Virginia, the Titans may be number 1 in the state in Class 4 by the time you play them on Friday. It should be a fun battle with the Greyhounds hosting the Titans of Lake Taylor on Friday. Coach, congrats on the win last night. Thanks for the time this morning, and I'm sure we'll catch up soon.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Appreciate what you guys do.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Larry. Good luck to you now.
Okay, thank you.
Larry Archie of the Norcom Greyhounds with us this morning here on High School Sports Talk presented by VirginiaPreps.com. At Norcom now rounding into form, and that's a really good game. You know, there's going to be some, you mentioned some of the hits last night, Oscar Smith, and we saw a couple weeks ago at Lake Taylor Phoebus. There are going to be some big-time hits and some explosive runs and some, you want to see some great playmaking. I think Lake Taylor at Norcom's a game to go check out on Friday, at least one of the ones in consideration. There's some great games this week when you look at that one. Indian River hosting Kings Fork, Salem and Tallwood. Oh, by the way, Tallwood's the quietest 5-1 team maybe in the area. There are some juicy matchups, much juicier matchups this coming week than there was last night, in my opinion.
Well, I'm not, you'd say juicy. I'm not sure.
You want a steak, a T-bone steak, some juicy?
Football, we got some tough, really good matchups coming up. I can't use the word juicy.
You can't use juicy?
In a matchup. I can't resonate with
Thomas,
that.
He's not drinking juicy juice, in case you're wondering. Not for Coach Young.
I'm a Donald Duck orange juice guy. That's the orange juice I drink is Donald Duck. It's hard to find.
Well, speaking